ready to start?
Yes.
Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1. Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Reverend Andrew Nunley from the Campus Drive Community Church. Reverend Nunley, we appreciate very much you coming out today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Thank you. God, heads. God, you are our creator, redeemer, and sustainer, God. God, we ask for forgiveness of our sins we have committed by omission or commission, by word, thought, or deed. God, we ask that you bless this court system, God. Bless Judge Whitley and the city officials. Let everything we do, Father God, let us do it, Father God, in spirit and in truth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. I used to be able to see the whole pledge.
Mr. Manius, agenda announcements?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have several announcements for the court at this time. The first one is under Budget and Risk Management, item 8B3. This concerns the revised copy of our actuarial study, which was dated as of September 30th, 2009. There was an error in that initial report that has been corrected, and we're going to ask that you rescind the initial court order and then receive and file the revised copy. Also under Public Health, item 8G5. This deals with the amendments to number 1 to the UNT Health Science Center. We're going to ask that we hold that particular item for 1 week. And then under Transportation Services, item 8J3. This concerns a professional services agreement with Half Associates. We're going to ask that we also hold that for 1 week. Your Honor, I believe that we have a special presentation today and that you're going to be making the introductions.
Yes. It's my privilege at this point in time to introduce the 107th Secretary of State for the state of Texas, Secretary Hope Andrade. Hope is from San Antonio, Bexar County area, and was a small business owner there for 30 years, has served on the Department of Transportation Commission's governing board, and she and I got to work with one another at that particular job for a couple of years. And so it's really a privilege to have her here today to talk with us a little bit about the census. I think her, as well as my proudest accomplishment, is to be a grandparent for 3 grandchildren. And so with that, I will introduce our Secretary of State, Hope Andrade.
Thank you so much, Judge and Commissioners. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and tell you about my visit. I'm here to ask all fellow Texans to help us with the census. It is very important. It's a very simple, but this will play a major impact on our state. You know, in this newest capacity, I'm personally visiting communities throughout our state, such as Tarrant County, to remind Texans of the importance of their prompt response to the 2010 census. The census is important for our state for a number of reasons, but most importantly, it is our state's chance to secure the necessary representation and resources to meet the growing needs of our state. During the last census count in 2000, our state's participation was 67%, 5 points lower than the national average. And we're hoping that by all of us working together, we can increase our participation in 2010. Everyone's participation is crucial because if Texans go uncounted, Texas will be shortchanged. In fact, what we're saying is that according to the Texas State Demographer, Each Texan that is not counted could result in a loss of $13,500 in federal funds over the next 10 years to Texas state and local governments. By now, most individuals have received their census form in the mail, and I want to invite everyone to join me in please filling this form out and returning it to ensure that we have a complete count here in our Lone Star State. Again, doing so, it's easy. The questionnaire is just 10 simple questions. And also, we want to remind all Texans that it is safe. Federal law protects your identity, and the information that you provide is completely confidential and will not be shared with any other agency. So please help Texas continue to prosper by remembering for everyone to do their part by answering these 10 questions that will take less than 10 minutes and that will help our state keep moving forward over the next 10 years. And that's it, Judge. We're just asking everyone to please do their part to make sure that Texas counts.
Thank you very much for coming. It is so critical, as we were mentioning earlier. There are so many of the formulas are dependent upon population, from transportation to CDBG to our Ryan White, and then you get into the representation. I mean, early estimates are saying that we could pick up as many as four houses or additional seats in Congress as a result of the population growth. So it is absolutely critical. And if we don't fill those out, and as a result of that, our formula share is less, then a lot of times we end up having to look for other ways, whether it be property tax or other fees in which to try to be able to still provide those services that are going to be necessary. And so we really need to make sure that we're getting our full share of the dollars that we're actually sending to D.C. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of those back from that standpoint. So I want to tell you how much I appreciate your job, not only as now the ambassador for the census, but also in the job that you do with elections for the Secretary of State for the state of Texas. And we appreciate very much you coming to Tarrant County and starting this off.
It's always great to be here. And if I may, Judge, I'd like to present you with a proclamation in recognition of the 41 cities within Tarrant County and the many complete count committees represented therein. Judge and Commissioners, I'd like to present you with this proclamation from the state of Texas to honor this region's efforts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think we have, okay, there we go.
Okay, photo moment?
Yes.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of March the 16th.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a recognition of our 2008-2009 Bridge Program participants, and I believe Jeanette is going to help us with that. Yes, there she is. Thank you. Thank you.
Very
You're
gently.
You're braver than me.
Good morning. I would like to take a few minutes to recognize our 2008-2009 Bridge Program participants. This is the first class of graduates from this particular program. And as you know, the Bridge Program was established in 2008 as part of the Talent Management Initiative to address changing workforce needs, knowledge transfer, and also to create a talent pool of well-qualified individuals capable of competing for leadership positions within the county. The Bridge Program is an 18-month accelerated development program that focuses 70% on on-the-job training, 20% on leadership development, and 10% on coaching and mentoring. Participants use individual development plans and 360 assessments to target their development. These individuals that are completing this program have achieved an average of 91% of the development goals that were established in their plan and have demonstrated improved performance in 94% of the leadership competencies that were targeted for development. overall completing an average of 21 management development courses that are offered through the Management Development Institute, as well as with our partnership with the Institute for Management Studies. Also, although job promotion is not a key indicator of program performance, 3 of the 10 participants in this program have been promoted. I would like to ask one of our bridge participants, Christy Glenn, as well as one of our department coaches, Jack Beecham, to briefly share their experiences with you. We'll make it brief.
Good morning.
Good morning. May it please the court. So there I was in our first meeting, listening to everyone introduce themselves, and we had people from IT, we had people from the precinct maintenance, we had people from the auditor's office, I was from Family Court Services, we had people from all over the county, and I was thinking to myself, how in the world is this going to work? With such a diverse group, how can we offer each other meaningful information when we come from such different management perspectives? But as the year unfolded, I think that became my favorite part of this class, was learning how truly universal our management dilemmas can be, and seeing how our different perspectives could lend such great knowledge and let us go back to our office with different perspectives. So the culmination of participation in this program for me was last year when I was appointed to replace Norris Branham, who retired. And I found that I entered that position armed with knowledge that I possibly might not have otherwise had, because Norris and I had had such meaningful conversations due to my participation in this program. It made the transition to the new position very smooth, not just for me, but for our 80-plus employees, and I think that is the most critical part. I attribute that to my participation in this program, and I want to thank you for making it available. I think it's very wise of you to realize how important passing on institutional knowledge is, and making our managers available to step into new positions ready to lead, not just manage. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was pretty skeptical about the program when it first began, when Jeanette approached me and asked if we had anybody that would be willing to participate in the program from the purchasing department. There are some wonderful success stories behind us, as you'll see, and it noted already. Melissa Lee came, in fact, she was applied for an entry-level buyer's position with purchasing 14 years ago. She has progressed from an entry-level buyer to a senior contract administrator. It's been very beneficial for me as a department head to see her act as a sponge. She has challenged us over the years. She's learned everything about our business, as most of these other individuals have in their respective departments. I was concerned about the time that she would spend away from the office. She did her job and then some, coming in after hours on weekends, kept up with the load, and has taken the time to promote herself and indulge in these classes, and has learned so very much. It's been very satisfying for me to see her reach this level as the other folks that you see behind us. It's time well spent. Just like Christy, thank you for letting us do this. From my perspective, she is the future of Tarrant County purchasing. She is what will happen in the future. It's been beneficial and very satisfying to see her progress and reach the level. The sky is still the limit, but we're very proud of her and these other individuals that you see behind us. She did want me to ask you if either LSU or Texas made it to the Sweet 16.
Well, you had a bright future up until that point in time, but now it's you're done now. I mean, I don't know where you're.
Her other comment was, it's a good thing they just packed
Is
an overnight
Arkansas
bag.
in that team?
Pardon?
Was where?
We're in the parking lot at Dairy Queen waiting for them to fill our lunch order.
Little pickup match?
Thank you, I think. I would like to ask our participants to come at one at a time. Let me introduce them to you. Participant Frank Cangelosi and Department Coach Wayne Maddox, Information Technology. Participant Robert Carter and Department Coach Mike Amador, Facilities Management. Participant Rhonda Del Camry and Department Coach Deborah Butler from Juvenile Services. Participant Frank Eason and Department Coach Tim Farnes and Mike Lowens from Precinct 2. Participant Christy Glenn from DRO. Participant Lisa Haynes. Department Coaches Bob Knowles, Sherry Gunn from Sheriff's Department. Participant Julie Hillhouse and Department Coach Kim Trussell from the Auditor's Office. Participant Melissa Lee from Purchasing and Department Coach Jack Beecham. Participant Kelly Willis and Department Coach Deborah Butler from Juvenile Services. And finally, we had Participant Doug Truby and Department Coach Neil Welch from Precinct 3. A few of these folks were not able to attend, but I just want to please join me in congratulating our 2008-2009 bridge participants and their coaches for a job well done. Thank you.
And Melissa, we do understand you had a tremendous cross to bear. And you short people know who you are, so.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate you.
I did want to
Let's
mention.
give them another big round of applause.
Judge, we're not quite finished with this presentation yet.
Think not?
That's not me saying this. There's a lot of big boys around here.
I just wanted to mention very quickly, in the fall, we did have a formal graduation ceremony for these individuals, and they received their recognition awards at that time.
Okay,
We had about 80 people attend that.
that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we need to receive and file that?
Yes, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And we have a congratulatory proclamation for ratification, and I will move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, you have before you the consent agenda. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manies?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have two additional items this morning. The first item we're requesting that the Commissioners Court concur with actions of the Hospital District Board of Managers and approve two oil and gas mineral leases between Tarrant County Hospital District and Chesapeake Exploration. These are tracts of 46.004 acres and 67.592 acres, which are owned by the hospital district, and it's further described within your court communication.
Move approval. I second. I have some discussion.
We have a motion and a second. Now we have some discussion.
Do you know whether there's an intention to drill on this property?
Yes, in fact, let me explain this to you very quickly.
It's a real low rate, but if they're drilling, it's a whole different.
No, actually, what happened was that originally 4-7s received the mineral rights on this total acreage of about 113 acres. And what has happened, they then gave those rights to Chesapeake. The term of the contract, or assigned the rights to Chesapeake. The term of that contract is now expired. At the initial contract, they received $14,000 an acre for this. And you can tell that even at $2,500, that's a lot larger than a lot of people are getting right now. So they're renewing the rates, but what they're doing, they're splitting the properties. There's one large piece of property, which is the 67-acre property. That's the downtown campus of the hospital district. And the remaining 46 acres are all the smaller pieces that JPS owns. The reason that they're splitting is because Chesapeake is going to enter into a partnership with XTO for the downtown campus piece, the 67 acres, and XTO is going to drill. They're in front of the city trying to get their permit now, and that piece of drilling will occur whenever the permitting occurs. The other piece is just simply, the reason we broke it out is so that they could team with XTO, and they're getting those drilling permits now.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court authorize the submission of the Tarrant County Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee and the Jail Expediter Committee to TAC as a nomination for the 2010 County Best Practices Award Program.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Glenn, I think we're going to have to institute a cell phone fine policy, potentially in here to, collect a little money for something.
My phone's not ringing.
I know. I figured I could get you to be in favor of that at this point in time. Ms. Glenn.
Good morning. We have 2 items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for Precinct 4. Precinct 4 has a Mechanic 2 who retired at the end of February with 400 vacation hours. The department is requesting the waiver effective tomorrow, 24th. The net fiscal impact is a little bit more than $2,400, excluding fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brewer?
Good morning.
Morning.
Public Health is seeking your approval to add a vehicle to the Public Health Department's vehicle fleet. This is actually a vehicle from another department that we are going to use. They no longer need it.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Who's giving it up?
Resource Connection.
Okay. 2004. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
You anticipating?
Sir?
Are you anticipating?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
We only have one item for your consideration this morning. It's a bid award recommendation for our bid number 2010-045. This is our annual contract for electrical services. Our recommendation would be to award a per hourly labor rate, the percentage markup on parts, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. See, Commissioner Brooks has an interlocal agreement. Has that been reviewed?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any appointments? At this point in time, I would like to move that Commissioner Brooks be appointed to fill my position on the CUC Policy Committee Board. That board meets about every other month, and I have been, by virtue of the fact that I've been an officer of that entity for the last eternity, 6 years, I guess.
That's not eternity.
Not for some of us. But anyway, I'm now off that, and Commissioner Brooks had expressed an interest in doing that, so I'd like to.
second.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item to bring to you this morning. This concerns an update on the 2006 Capital Improvements Program. Mr. Phillips is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to update you on 3 projects that are included in the 2006 Capital Improvement Program. First, the Medical Examiner's Office. The construction manager is mobilizing on the site as of today. The construction offices should roll onto the site this week. The construction fencing zone, the perimeter fencing should be erected next week or so, and after that, the body entry delivery area will be relocated to the south side of the building so they can start doing some site work. So that project's going well. The actual dirt should start flying in April on that project. On to the jail project. The bids were open on March 4th. Currently, the bid scope review meetings are going on. With all the bidders, and part of those meetings is Gilbane staff, the Gideon Toll representatives, my staff, Clarence Presley, and the KAI Broadus group, who is augmenting my construction staff, and of course Danny Robertson and Janelle Jenkins from our purchasing department. Those meetings should wrap up in a couple of weeks, and I should be able to have some final numbers for you on April the 6th. The numbers have come in substantially below estimates, so we are spending a little extra additional time in the scope review to make sure that those bidders have all the scope in their numbers. We've even asked some of their bonding companies to get involved and review the bids and the other bids that come in to make sure everybody's agreeable to the final numbers. So it's been quite exciting a couple of weeks. Let me give you kind of a snapshot of where we're at, and where we're at now. Let me overlay that to what we presented to you back in February of 2006. That was the first stage of the bond package. There were 3 components of the $108 million jail facilities bond. One was the actual $92 million jail building. The other was about a $6 million Sheriff's Department administrative offices and 911 dispatch. And the third component was a $10 million record storage facility. We have completed the Sheriff's Office administrative areas, and we did that for about $5.4 million, which is under budget on that particular component. Currently, if the numbers kind of hold, and I'll know more on April the 6th, we should be $8 to $10 million under budget on the jail project itself. Now, of course, we won't really know until it gets built, the project gets closed out, everybody gets paid, and we deal with any change orders and any potential claims. But as of today, during bid evaluation, we should be $8 to $10 million under that original number. And that would leave the record storage center, which is $10 million of that $108 million bond package. And we have not addressed any of that yet.
That's really good numbers, David.
Those are great numbers, David.
Really good numbers.
Okay.
But we realized we don't know anything yet.
Yes, and I would like to, allow me to get on April 6th to give you the final GMP, guaranteed maximum price numbers, and a week or so after that, we'll have the guaranteed maximum price to you for, hopefully for approval, so Gilbane can move forward with construction. So that's our goal, is April the 6th to provide you with the final numbers, and April the 20th to ask you to approve the guaranteed maximum price.
The record storage, what are you kind of thinking about in regards to?
Well, when we ran through this, we saw a large escalation in construction cost and in 2007 and early 2008. And we dealt with that by having to use some money that we're going to use for our records management. We're concerned about the jail project coming in way over what we had hoped, and that's not the case. So we haven't done anything. What we've done, we've actually leased some space at Mercantile Business Center and moved all the 125,000 boxes of records out there for a short-term lease, or it can be a longer-term lease, whatever the court decides. But I think personally, I would like for us to get further down into the jail project before we start addressing any records management issues, center issues, because again, I am concerned, a little concerned about the prices are somewhat low on the jail project. There could be 15–20% low, and we're flushing that all out right now. But that would be my recommendation, is to hold off on some of those decisions until we kind of get going with the jail project.
Okay, thank you.
Next thing I have is the Civil Courts Building project. Commissioners Court asked the project team in our last meeting is to go back and give you some options regarding construction costs and such for the new building, and also be able to address some long-term space needs regarding the court system in downtown Fort Worth. And I think we've done that. What we have for you is essentially three options. First is to construct a 6-level building for approximately $67 million. And the second option would be to construct a 7-level building completely filled out and finished out for $77 million. Now, the thing we've come back that's new today to you is we could move forward with design of a 7-level building and bid the interior finish out work of the 7th level as an ad alternate at bid time. And if we did that, if we just bid the project as a 7 level as an ad alternate, the project budget would be $71 million. Now, we'll see what bid time. We could give you some flexibility at that time. You could decide what you want to do and how you want to handle moving forward with the interior finish out. We could do it at that time, or we could postpone it.
But we don't have, I know we've talked about a lot of uses, but nothing's been nailed on the wall and said, this is what we're going to do up there.
That's correct.
I think what we were looking for is the fact that you know, you're right. I mean, there's been conversations about what would the future need be. Right now, we've got the appeals court in the Criminal Justice Center, the Tim Curry Criminal Justice Center. And if we ever had hopes, if we ever thought that building was going to grow to the point of needing additional space, then the logical folks to move out of that would be the civil court or the Court of Appeals, to move them out. That would allow for more room for the DA's office, which was originally what the design was for on that floor, plus the addition of any courts, should there need to be any additional courts from that standpoint.
Yes, we are currently experiencing those growing pains now that we've experienced in the past in other departments. The last renovation we did for the district attorney's office, we took over their break room. Okay, so that's kind of the natural progression. We take over break rooms, we move over and take over conference rooms, and there is no break rooms or conference rooms anymore, kind of like we have in the auditor's office today. And so we kindly fill in all the spaces, and that's what we're doing today with the district attorney's office. Now also, it's been our long-term goal to demolish the old jail building, the old 300 West Belknap building. We do have some components in there that really need to move out first. And
they probably appreciate that.
They would. And there's a couple of courts in there, trial courts. There's also some mental health and diversion courts and direct courts and where staff goes. So we need to probably see about putting them in the Tim Curry building. So we certainly have an immediate need for actual pure office space today.
How much of the DA's office is still over in the old building there on the corner?
The old criminal courts.
One floor, and I think that's the investigators.
That's all that's over there?
I believe so, sir. So there is an ongoing, and it will be a larger need for office space and various support space for the criminal court system in downtown Fort Worth over the years. And one thing that the 7th level project, or the 7th level building provides is flexibility with dealing with some of those space issues.
Once we make the determination of whether we're going 6 or 7, how long is it before we get to the bid process with this building to where we can start hopefully experiencing some of the good news that you gave us with similar to the jail?
Well, the first thing we'd like to do is, in which you give me direction, we will go ahead and I will plug in the scope of work into the architect's design contract, whether it's a 7 or 6 level building, and their budget, and of course that sets their fees. And the actual design time is about 12 months. Now, inside of that, there's going to be a couple of months worth of owner review time. It's time for the users to absorb and make changes to those drawings. It's a very good process to do. We did it with the family law, did it with the jail. It's worked out real well. We give them some time to work out, and it's easier to move lines on a piece of paper than it is walls later, so it's worked out well. We did experience about 4 months of building permit time with the city of Fort Worth and the jail. I don't think it's going to be that long with the civil courts. So from the day we sign, we take the contract to court and get it approved, I would think we're in the 16, 17-month range, which is summer of 2011 is the time we would advertise for bid.
You know, I know I'm known for my patience, so let me just begin by asking that I thought we had done an awful lot of work as far as designing the walls and deciding where everything was going to be and kind of what the courtrooms were going to look like over the last year.
They've done some concepts. They've done some concepts. What they've done is blocked the space out as far as the masses and blocks and stacking of the space to see how big the building is going to be, wide and tall, and how it's going to kind of the actual movement of the public and movement of the secured perimeter and those folks like that. So those kind of things have been worked out, and it's worked well. Now, I did talk with the architect this morning, and right now he told me 12 months of design time, and we'll do our best to reduce that.
I mean, because I think I hope we only have a limited window, because I don't want our economy to be in this kind of a mess for 16 months. But I think if the quicker we can move forward on this, at least I'm of the opinion that we need to move forward as quickly as possible, because if not, we're liable to find ourselves on the outside of this thing looking at the same thing that we thought we were looking at on the jail in 2007 or 2006.
What was the total amount in the bond issue for the civil court building?
$62.3 million.
But now,
in
don't
2006. Yes, sir.
We have money left over from
1998.
Which was how much?
$7.5 million available left over. And the original 1998 number was $70.6 million.
So from that total, we're looking at about $70.5 million before you take into account any interest that we've earned off of the other.
That's correct.
So we're sitting right now with the pretty close, probably a little over the 71 million that you're talking about for the 7 levels, with the 7th level as an alternative build out. But we're still a pretty good distance away from the 77 million, which is what you were estimating would be the total build out.
Yes, sir.
Which just again tells me I really hope we can do this in a shorter period of time than 16 months, or what would then end up probably being 24 months.
We will we'll go back and look at it and see what we can do.
Now, I guess the question I would ask of the court is just kind of what your general comments are regarding the 7 stories versus the 6, and I guess the alternative. I don't know at this point in time. At this point in time, are we looking for any kind of a conversation with regards to whether we build the 7th as an alternative, or whether we?
No, sir. We would move forward as in the design would be designed in the same way, regardless. And how we would structure the bids at bid time is what we would make decisions on next summer.
Your Honor, I might just say that we've analyzed this fairly thoroughly at staff level, and one thing that comes into our mind is the thing that happened at the medical examiner's office a long time ago, back in the early 80s, were that this court had, not this court, but the Commissioners Court had an opportunity to add an additional floor, and they failed to do that at that time, hoping that they could build on eventually. And obviously that didn't materialize, and part of the reason that we're having to construct this new addition to the ME's office is because we need more space down there. These buildings, both the Curry building and also the Civil Courts building, once we put these buildings up, we're not going to have an opportunity to add another floor. So our recommendation is that we move forward with a 7-story building, and that we use the alternate type bidding process to make a determination at that time, depending what construction costs are, to either shell in or to complete the floor. If we shell in, we would not have to complete that floor until there was a need for additional space down in the Curry building for this area that the Court of Appeals is currently in. So while it's a little more expensive, about $4 million versus the 6th floor, we believe that it would be a sound investment if the court would take that action.
I think I agree. If we can get the 7th floor shelled in, that we probably need to go in that direction.
Okay, is that the form of a motion?
Are we prepared? I mean, are we at this time ready for a motion on this?
Yes, Commissioner. I think the next step is to give direction to staff to move forward with the completion of the architectural contract, to bring it back to you in about 2 weeks, hopefully for approval.
Yeah, I'll so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Now, that's shelled in with no promises to anyone.
That's correct.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that's
right. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. I would really, again, appreciate you bringing it to us. And again, as I think we've said before, don't let us be the hold-up on any of this stuff.
Yes, sir.
So bring it to us to the point to where, and I know the key parties are out here. I'd really like for us to move this thing as quickly as we possibly can to get to the bid, because I do think we have a limited window. I hope we have a limited window before this thing turns around on us and goes the other direction. We've been pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
When you stop and think the Family Law Center we built at the right time, it obviously looks like we built the jail, the medical examiner's office at the right time. If we can get this civil courts building up at that point, then the only thing we'll have left at that point will be our juvenile area. So I feel very good about, I think, where we are in those processes.
Well, GK and I was visiting prior to court this morning, and we went back and talked a little bit about the medical examiner's office, and I happened to be, I guess, the only one on the court that was here at the time. And we built that structure to add another floor, but we did not shell another floor in. And now, as a result, we're having to build another building because of the short-sightedness of the court at that time. So,
well, and, I think it's great for us to say, well, we're going to add a floor, but, in today's environment, with all the electronics and with everything else, to add a floor to an existing building means you're constantly going to be taking the power down, or you're going to be, something's going to vibrate, shake that building or do something, and you're going to constantly be disturbing. You might as well, you'll have to, for all intents and purposes, you'd have to just empty the building while you were doing it. And so that's just not realistic. And so I think if we do that at this point in time, we will be much better prepared. And again, this should be something that would ensure that we would have all the courtroom space that we would need for at least as long as any of us are going to be on this court.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your hard work. Thank you all very much for your work on this.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
This time we will recess our open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government. Having returned from closed session, we'll now address the following matters.
Thank you, Your Honor. With regard to item number D1 under the District Attorney's section, we're requesting authorization for the county judge to sign a settlement agreement settling the matter described in D1 with $15,000 to be paid to Christopher J. Gale and Brenda Smith, and request that the court authorize the auditor to pay this amount without it first appearing on the claims register for approval by this court, with the amount to come from our self-insurance fund.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
That's all we have, Your Honor.
Being no further business, we are adjourned.